Chancellor Jimpok, step aside. Now that I possess the sword of Kalis, the Klingon throne is mine. Hello and welcome to the Voyage. Cool points goes to the person that knows where I got the entry segment of this video from. Now with that being said, I plan to have the beginning part of this episode of the Voyage covering some of the new aspects of the Foundry, because up until about a week ago I was still able to access the Foundry on the test server. And I can still get into it and see my character, but I can't actually get into it. It locks up. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm hoping it's a good sign that they're fixing something and they can have the Foundry online and more user-generated content can come down the pipeline. Another thing, so people have asked me, what are the PvE missions on the KDF side? Well, I'll show you. And I'm more talking about for the fleet starbases. They're the same as the Federation side. Colony invasion, Starbase fleet defense, Klingon fleet alert, Klingon Starbase blockade. I haven't played these two yet, but I have done Starbase fleet defense, colony invasion, and the no-win scenario, and they are identical to the Federation side. There is some language changes in the colony invasion, like you actually capture the citizens, but at the same time the people you're fighting can still kill them, so I don't get it. I think it's more of a logistical error. One minor complaint that I have to Cryptic on the KDF side, as you can see I am a Goran, Tolish, is Cryptic has kind of let it go stagnant. It's better than it was when the game first started, when the only way to level was through PvP missions from what I've heard. But it's still not a good faction to play. Perfect World Entertainment is trying to justify this, not adding new content solely for the Klingons now, just by saying that the KDF is not that big of a faction. Not as many people play it. I've been in the forums. There is a very high demand of people that want to play the Klingon faction, and in all honesty, I'd play it a little bit more often if there was more content over here. And just in case anybody's wondering, since Season 6 came out, I have only played long enough to play those 3 Starbase missions and 1 STF mission, and to see the Klingon Starbase. I have contributed to it. As you can see, I have 4,120 fleet credits. I think for this one right now, I will actually show you how to manage what comes next if you have permission in your fleet. It's really not that hard. It's a straightforward thing. Why did I not show you this on my Federation side? Well, I didn't have permission in the fleet that I'm in over there to do this. No big deal. I really don't care about having permission for this. But all you really do is click. Normally you'd click over here to contribute if you wanted to. But if you click over here, it'll actually tell you what you can set up to be next. That is, when this is filled up and the timer counts down to 0, what will come after it. When I logged into this tune this morning, there was nothing here, so I just picked something. And I do believe, yep, it was that. And if you ever want to know how much is you'll get from each thing. You just hover over it. It'll say you'll receive 5, which is actually common amongst all of them. Tell you how long it takes them to finish. Also, what is required. Almost all special projects require 600 fleet marks. This one requires 125 colonists, yada yada yada. And then you hit select. Now, another question I have asked is, do I know why there is a special? Why it usually takes so much? As you see, this takes 180 fleet marks. Except for actually doing an upgrade, it's almost never higher than 600 fleet marks. Well, the answer is actually kind of... From Cryptic, what they have said was the purpose of the special fleet marks and why everything is so bloated for the rewards you get is actually for fleets like my Federation fleet is pretty fast at filling up. There was actually times that a military project, let's say reinforced local systems, which is coming next, came up, and this whole thing would be filled within not even a minute. Except for fleet marks, nearly everything would be filled up. And right now that still happens a lot with dilithium and expertise. So I hope that actually answers that particular question. I know it was quick, basic, and simple. It was a question that was asked to me on Twitter, in which if you ever want to ask me questions, go ahead, feel free to ask me in the comments on my website. Shoot me a private message if you want, or you can send naturally comments. I accept comments on YouTube, or you can shoot me a message at Twitter, which is @BasicComputer, because it's for my Basic Computer Help channel, but I also use it more for my personal Twitter too. What do you say we jump into a Klingon red alert? I'm sorry, Klingon fleet alert. Alright, see you inside. Alright, I'm starting Klingon fleet alert. From what it looks like it's the same as the Starfleet version. I do like that update where it's got the sound effects when you hit your comm badge or type in on your pad to beam up. It actually looks like it's going to be the same as the Federation red alert. So I'll pretty much do the same thing, because I do know I have the Federation version. I'll see if they warp in, if they're Starfleet. I have not fought Starfleet yet, so, and then I'll do one, and then I'll catch you at the end when I tell you Tolish's loadout, which is horrible. Hey look, we gotta fight the Klingons. Wow, they really did not even try. Wow, man. That's bad. Oh, that kinda sucked. But oh well. If I would have played the whole thing, you'd have seen the word defeat in the center of the screen way more often than I would care for. But I will show you why that was in a second. Alright, first thing is first, without ever actually seeing what kind of items I have, you could tell that my items are barely even considered up to par. On top of that, I run a bird of prey, which, even though I have the highest free version, only has 24,000 hit points for the hull and 4,675 hit points per shield facing, because it's got a pretty bad shield modifier. And offhand, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I can see it on here. Alright, right off the bat, I have the Dual Disruptor Beam Bank Mark 10, which is what you get at level 44, I think it is, when you get to put into the Omega Force. Disruptor Dual Heavy Cannons Mark 10 with damage attribute. Disruptor Dual Heavy Cannon Mark 11 with accuracy, critical hit, and damage attributes. Rapid Reload Transphasic Torpedo Launcher. For the rear, I have the Breen Transphobic Cluster Torpedo. And a basic Mark 11 Disruptor Turret. Now for my... well, I'll deal with the... oops. Alright, and now for my deflectors, impulse engines, and shields. I actually have the Breen set. Just to let you guys know, pretty much with this tune, I got him to level 50 and more or less stopped playing. I come on every once in a while to get to harvest and mine some dilithium, but that's really few and far between by itself. And the way the missions are set up on the Klingon side, they gave me 2 Mark 10s and then a Mark 11. So I only have the bonus for having 2 of the 3 sets. I'm not going to fret. For my devices, I have a heavy anti-proton satellite turret, which was actually fairly good. I started with 20, crafted them myself. I'll show you how to do that in another video. Maybe the next one. A subspace field modulator. And of course, and now my engineering slot. Now, one thing I don't like with the update that occurred on the 26th is it stopped, if I'm hovering over an item that's I'm already equipped, it stopped doing a comparison, which is where it shows, like if I did this, it'd show all 3 science consoles. It's nice, except for when I do videos like this. Alright, for the engineering consoles, I have the Universal Assimilated Module, my armor, monotanium alloy, which gives me plus 32.5 kinetic damage resistance, and an SIF generator, which increases my hull repair. For my science consoles, I have a power insulator. Tomorrow I'll go more in depth into stuff like power insulators and really power distribution. Sensor probes, which increases my sensors. And a flow capacitor, which I really should upgrade. Mark 5. The sensor probes are Mark 11. My tactical slots, I have a pre-fire chamber, which gives me plus 10% cannon weapon damage. That's Mark 6, so I should upgrade that. Commander level. A warhead high yield chamber, which increases the damage of my torpedo weapons, which really only increases the damage for the transphasic torpedo. The cluster torpedo, I've read that it doesn't do much or even anything to. Disruptor induction coil, which increases my disruptor type damage. Since I run disruptors, it naturally makes sense. Now another question from my cruiser is, why do I run a torpedo on the rear of my cruisers when I should be running solid turrets? It increases DPS. And yes, it does. It does decrease DPS, but I tend to do strafing runs. And I'll get more into movement bonuses tomorrow. Oh wow, I'm saying tomorrow, aren't I? In the next video, I intend to do movement bonuses. But ultimately, since I do strafing, people will wind up behind me, even slow-moving vehicles. So I'll use this just to have a really quick, high-damage weapon till I can flip around. A word of caution to anybody that wants to play a Klingon character is, one, it is definitely a grind to get to level 50. Due to lack of content, and well, a lot of other things, it's a really bad, it's a really poorly thought out faction, and the people that play this are really good. That's why in Karat, a lot of players will say it's off balance to the Klingon faction, and it's not. Klingon players are just really, really, really good at this game, and given the fact that when the Klingon faction was originally brought into the game, the only way to level them, was through PvP combat. Starfleet didn't, from what I hear. I wasn't around when PvP came in, but from what I hear, Starfleet really didn't get PvP ability until much later. So Klingons came at it already knowing how the mindset of a lot of the players, already knowing how people thought. Best way is to do it in PvP. And anybody who doesn't know, I don't care what game you play, your setup for PvP is going to be very different from your setup for PvE, or player versus everyone. There's a lot of people that ask me if I do ship-to-ship PvPing, and the answer is no. I have done ground PvP and shuttle PvPs. Those are fun. But if you have two people that know how to PvP in this game with starships, well, let's just say me and one of my fleet mates, who I was hoping to have an interview with in the last episode discussing the Tholian lockboxes, that didn't go well. Me and her played in a PvP match for over 3 hours with none of us destroying the other, because we were kept distributing our shields, we kept healing each other, or ourselves, even though both of us did not have C-store ships. We both went at each other with a nuke. Alright, in the next episode of the Voyage, I intend to cover this power distribution matrix right here, and also to show why the most neglected power area, which is auxiliary power, can also be the most important. Okay, until next week. Have a nice day.